Hey guys, my name is Ashimar, and today I received a request to build a Cold Flicker Strike Raider using a minimum of 10 frenzy charges. The person specified that he has a 200x budget, so we're gonna try to fit into that budget. And from the title of this video, you're gonna know what was the budget for this build precisely. So yeah, let's get going. So first of all, you wanna start by sort of going on POE Ninja and simulating the build. So what I usually do when I get a build request is I go on POE Ninja, I go to builds, I select the build that I want, so Flicker Strike, I sort by DPS, yes, I'm that bitch, and I go into a random one that doesn't have like such crazy inflated numbers. Since I already have experience with building Flicker Strike Raider, I already know what to look for on items. So I know that in the 200x budget, I don't want the Forbidden Shackle because it's gonna cost way too much otherwise. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna filter with the Replica Abysses. Yes, as you can see, the DPS is still there, still crazy, and we're just gonna look at this guy's build, see what he does, and try to make a version of our own. But if you're looking precisely for the items, this video is just right for you, because I'm gonna be going over what exactly items, what roles do you need for items for the Flicker Strike Raider. So enjoy. So first of all, what I like to do is I like to make a small note tab. You can type on top, reminding yourself of your budget. And I like to slowly go and fill in these blanks just to sort of know what stage I'm at, and yeah. And when building such a build, you want to start by buying up all the uniques so that you have easier time adjusting your resistances, your damage, and other stuff accordingly. So yeah, let's get going. We're gonna start with Replica Abysses. On the Replica Abysses, you really want the enchant. Increased Flicker Strike damage per frenzy charge. Since we're stacking 10 frenzies, which is 4 above the number you can get using just a skill tree, is gonna give us a lot of DPS. Yeah, Replica Abysses Enzymite. And as we can see, it costs 4.4, 4.5, 5x. So we're gonna go buy it and we're gonna write it down into our tab. Alright guys, now that we got the helm, we need to get the body armor. So for body armor, you obviously want Farul's Fur. And as I know, from the Replica Abysses, you're looking for a 6-link Farul's Fur, and you're looking for 3 green and 3 red sockets. Don't ask me why, you just need those colors, believe me. And as we can see, oh, this one has a bad Scourged mod. Oh yeah, this one's fine, and a decent life roll, so let's get it. Alright, as you can see, we got the Farul's Fur. Make sure you put it down in the note tab. I actually managed to snatch a better roll by overpaying like 0.1x, and believe me, those 14C that I have spent on this extra 8 life and the 30 quality, it actually does matter. And when you're building a build with such a high budget of 200x, you really do want to spend that little extra just to make it a ton better. So the next part is the weapon. The weapon is our main DPS slot. For the weapon, you want Paradoxica with such mods. You want the penetrate elemental resistances and attack speed. Now, this weapon is gonna cost a lot. It's up to 30x. Yes, as you can see, it's like 28x, 30x. That's a lot of money. So if you don't have the 30x, you can just have the attacks with this weapon penetrate elemental resistances. It's gonna be a lot cheaper, and it's gonna be a little less DPS. For the secondary mod, I suggest you take the critical strike multiplier. As you can see, this one sells for about 4x. Critical strike chance is still fine. Yeah, but since we are having such a high budget, I want to get the best in slot weapon. Okay guys, I got the Paradoxica. Let's put it in our tab. I paid 28x for that. So the shield is actually going to be a rare shield. So we're going to skip it for now. I want to go for the boots now. As for the boots, you want dark ray vectors. So dark ray vectors. These are relatively cheap. It's basically just a 1C unique. You're looking to have a nice lightning roll, so you have easier time adjusting your resistances afterwards. So you just click on the sword by lightning. It's like 10C. But if you're looking for something really good, you want a specific enchant. Penetrate. If you haven't killed recently, damage penetrate percent of enemy elemental resistance if you haven't killed recently. These go for about 0.8x, and that's absolutely fine because the lab service costs about an x for the boots. So I don't mind paying this much amount of money for such nice boots, because this enchant is really gonna give you a lot of damage extra potential on bosses, and just starting your flicker chain, it's gonna be a lot easier. So once again, I'm gonna sort by lightning resistance, and I'm gonna look for something below 2x. Oh wow, this one's 3 mirrors. No way you're getting that, sir. Once again, if you're looking for a specific margin of price, you can go to the very bottom, click trade filters, click buyout price, either Chaos Orb or Exalted Orb, whichever you're looking for, and click maximum 1 Exalted, because that's what I'm willing to pay maximum. Once again, I sort by lightning resistance. I don't really want a corrupted one, but this one's fairly nice. Let's get it. Okay guys, we got the boots. Actually, this has a bit of a lower roll than I talked about. This has plus 38 to lightning resistance instead of plus 40, which is still fine. Those 2% isn't gonna matter that much. But I did pay 0.7x for this one, which I feel like is worth it for the 2%. Yes, it's not gonna be white socketed, but I can still change the socket color because it's not corrupted. So next up, we're basically done with uniques for this build. What you want next is to build defining items, which are relatively similar for everybody on POE Ninja. So if you look on POE Ninja, you can see a trend here. Yes? Everybody is wearing the same gloves. And what the gloves do is they give you an extra frenzy charge and strike skills target 2 additional nearby enemies. So let's look for that. We're gonna search for frenzy charges, and we're gonna look for strike skills target additional enemy. So I'm gonna show you a little trick. If you have just one additional target enemy, these are gonna cost you about 6x for a decent pair. Once again, for these gloves, these are rare gloves, so you can craft on them now. What you're looking for is spiked gloves base, because it gives you increased melee damage in the implicit, and the implicit value cannot be changed for the base type, even if you reroll it. What you're looking for is either an empty suffix to craft on aspect of the spider, aspect of the cat skill, and actually the aspect is going to be free because of our body armor. As you can see, aspect of the cat has no reservation. Or there's another option. You can have the aspect of the cat in your ring slot, and for the ring slot you're gonna have to have an unset ring, and you're gonna have to put a reduced duration so that your aspect of the cat skill replenishes way faster. That's an option. I'm gonna see if it's too expensive for a nice pair. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to show you that I was talking about is that if you have strike skills target 2 additional enemies, that's an elevated mod and it's gonna come at a much higher price. As you can see, this base is complete shit, but it costs 13x, which is like twice more just because of the Maven Orb investment. As you can see, these gloves, they're pretty shit, I'm not gonna lie. They have no life. You are not able to craft on life because life is a prefix, and you can actually craft life onto the gloves. So I decided to go with these gloves. These are gonna help me save a lot of time finding the aspect of the cat enchant on any of my gear. Also, I talked to the buyer, and the buyer said he's okay with just 1 additional nearby enemy if it comes to saving currency. So this is completely fine. Yes, these gloves are not gonna be able to have a life roll because the prefixes are full, as you can see. But since there's an empty suffix, we can craft resistances onto it. And I'm actually gonna do just that right now. Also, don't forget to thank your sellers. And let's craft on the resistances. So since we have already lightning resistance on our boots and no other resistances on our gear, I would suggest you craft fire and cold resistances for an easier cap out. 19 is fine. If it's not, we're gonna simulate in POE and see where that gets us. Yes, so next up, I want a ring. The buyer specifically said he wants a 10 frenzy charges flicker at least, so we're gonna go and buy that. There are 2 specific rings that you're looking for in flicker. Some of them are unique and some of them are rare. So what you want to do is change the stat filters to count, and you count 1. And now you click frenzy charges, and you type in frenzy charges again. But this time you click it again and you click on implicit, and it's gonna show you rings with either an implicit or an explicit modifier. So you see there's a Circle of Nostalgia synthesized amethyst ring, chaos damage while affected by Herald of Agony. That is absolute fucking trash. The only ring you might want is a Precursor's emblem. This one is pretty decent, but I would suggest against buying it. Oh yeah, and throughout your entire journey, don't forget to listen your prices, because it's gonna help you saving a ton of currency. Believe me, writing down how much you have spent on your build is gonna help you a lot with saving up your currency. Okay, so one thing for certain, for whatever reason, the price for maximum charges rings has gone up in price by a lot since I have last built a cold flicker. As you can see, all these bases, the amethyst ring, the topaz ring, the ruby ring, the amethyst ring, the iron ring, they're all trash. You're either looking for a Precursor's emblem or a sapphire ring. Since they cost a lot, that's a big investment. But it will give you a lot of damage. So if you're actually going over the 200x budget, I'm gonna show you. What you're looking for is either a rare ring to craft on it, or you're looking for something like this with added cold damage per frenzy charge. This is actually absolutely fucking insane, and I don't know why this guy has listed 80x, because it's worth like 100x at least. And this is the ring I went for. It's gonna help me cap out my cold resistance, and also it's gonna help me a little with the mana reservation efficiency, because Flicker Strike has a tendency to not go for too much intelligence, so you're not able to equip a level 4 Enlighten. And since you're not able to equip a level 4 Enlighten, you might have trouble having enough mana reservation efficiency for precision. Okay, now we sort of got to the break point where we have a bunch of needed gear and what we have left is a belt, another ring, and a shield. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna load all of the items into Path of Building, and I'm gonna simulate the tree that I'm gonna have. And I'm gonna simulate the elemental resistances that I will need to cap them out. So, now that we have done making the tree, what you wanna do is go into Path of Exile and click Ctrl plus C on an item, go to items, click on the blank space and Ctrl V. And then you have exactly your role, and you just add it to build and it automatically slots it in into the space. So let's do it with every single piece of our gear. So that's pretty much it. As we can see, we are lacking a bunch of fire resistance and a bunch of cold and lightning. As for the cold resistance, actually I'm not sure, because whenever I slot Herald of Ice, yes, our cold resistance is pretty much almost done. We just need 15 more points. And it's going to be pretty easy to get. As you can know, 15 points is pretty easy. What I want to build now is my cluster jewels, because the cluster jewels sometimes roll extra resistances on them. Before you're gonna go ahead and purchase your rings and belts for those resistance and life, I would highly recommend going for cluster jewels at this moment. First of all, because they're probably more expensive than your stat sticks, as I call them. And second of all, you're gonna be having an easier time capping your resistances, as I already said. Quick note, if you don't know what clusters you're going for, you look on POE Ninja, you look for people, you scroll through them, you tend to find tendencies in what they have in their build. So for example, this guy has Calamitous, Fuel the Fight, Martial Prowess, and I believe this guy has Martial Prowess. So we already know that Martial Prowess is probably going to be the go-to. I'm going to go skim through all of these off screen, and I'm going to tell you which ones I'm going to pick up. So, we got our first cluster, but I would like you to take a note at this specific line. As you can see, this has no benefit for us, and this is where a lot of beginners struggle. So either you want to scroll through and find a specific one you want, or you can just type in, you can copy paste this thing. Oh fuck, I messed it up. You type in add small passive skills and it's an enchant. And here you write swords. And as you can see, the price instantly jumps up from 1.3x to 2x the least. A single reminder, always make sure you're getting what you paid for. Check the amount of passive skills, check that the small added passive skills grant the exact modifiers you were looking for, and check through the skills that you're paying for, because people do scam in this game. Check yourself. And thank you, buyer. Okay guys, we got our clusters. I always try to mix and match different passives, but obviously sometimes for a build like Custom Create Ice Spear, you're gonna want all of these. Blanketed Snow, Prismatic Heart, Widespread Destruction, but sometimes on builds like Flicker Strike, I do like to take Disorienting Display, because it gives you a small % chance to blind nearby enemies when you use an elemental skill. And Flicker, Vortex, the Vortex that we're gonna slot in our helm, it's gonna be an elemental. It's gonna be an elemental skill.
Too precious to waste on you.
Okay, I'm gonna leave there. The guy's having some fun. The skill gives you a little bit of survivability, because even though it's 10%, when you're hitting 1,000,000 times per second, and when your vortices are being spammed, it's gonna stack up. Believe me, it's gonna stack up and it's gonna give you a lot of survivability on bosses. So let's go ahead and copy paste these items into our build. So once again, I'm just clicking Ctrl C and then Ctrl V. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, and last one. Oh, Empyrean Hope. Life is unfair. So as you can see, we actually capped out our cold resistance. Our lightning resistance is gonna mainly come from the Vessel of Vintas. Also guys, one thing I'd like to note, it's never a bad idea to just open up your notepad, type in calculator, you type in your initial budget and you start minusing all the investments that you have already made so that you can see where you're at. So as you can see, just with the gear, not even completely finished, we still have the shield, the belt and the ring and the amulet. We're already at 105x investment, which is a lot. Okay guys, so I have found absolutely 0 good megalomaniacs. It seems that they're already gone. So I guess now it's time to search for medium cluster jewels. What you want in your medium cluster jewels is either 4 or 5 passive skills. And for Flicker Strike, you always want to go with Basics of Pain and Precise Retaliation. Now, people decide whether, if you're going for 3 clusters, 3 large clusters, you either want to go for 3 medium or 4 medium, depending on your budget obviously. I prefer going with 4 medium because it's gonna offer that a little extra top notch of DPS, also capping our critical strike chance, thanks to Basics of Pain. So let's go ahead and buy 4 of them. One thing I'd like to say is that these 4 passive skills, medium clusters, might be extremely overinflated. As you can see, the cheapest one was listed at 58x, then 60x, then 60x, then now it's 69x and 70. These guys haven't answered me, I only got 2. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and buy 5 passive skills because you're basically gonna have the same amount of skills needed to slot in everything for your damage, but it's gonna come at a cheaper price, so obviously that's nice. So as you can see, this one has 5, this one has 4. So what we do to get to the small jewel, here obviously we take all 4, but here we go on the side that doesn't have a small passive skill and we just did this. It's pretty easy guys. One thing I absolutely forgot to add is Watcher Eye. No endgame build is allowed to exist without a Watcher Eye. As you can see on POE Ninja, the most used unique item by far is a Watcher Eye, because any build in existence would like one. What rolls on it you take doesn't really matter, but the amount of damage and other utility it adds is absolutely crucial to any single build. So for just 1 skill point, you're able to take insane amount of damage. For example, this guy, double hatred. Yes, this costs like 40x or maybe 100x. I am not sure, but imagine for 1 point, 40% of physical damage converted to cold damage. Normally, you would have to spec in 1, 2, 3, 4 points to get the 40% of physical damage converted to cold damage. And here you get it for just 1. But on top of that, you also get the damage penetrates 15% cold resistance while affected by hatred. As you can see, Watcher's Eye are really needed and they can be quite expensive. Quick update on the build. Basically for the amulet slot, you're looking either for a rare amulet with damage penetrates elemental resistances and damage penetrates cold resistances, Besides that, you want some resist on the amulet itself and some life perhaps. Otherwise, if you're struggling with resistances, you can get a Yoke of Suffering. With a max roll of all resistances, you can get a lot of resistances. And last option is the Pandominus. If you're struggling with cold resistance and that's it, it gives you a lot of cold damage, and it also offers you the option to chill nearby enemy when you're hitting them, reducing their action speed, which is going to give you some DPS boost and some survivability boost, because you're also blinding chill enemies on hit. Alright guys, the build is about done. So I finished the build completely. So in the meantime, here are the new things that I got. I decided not to bore you with the boring stuff because I realized it's kinda silly when I'm interrupting myself in the middle of things. So basically I bought this base shield. As I said in the previous thing, we got all of our core pieces, and now we basically only needed these items to fill in for our resistances and life. So what I did with the shield is I searched increased elemental damage, and these can only be synthesized. So I just listed by highest elemental damage, and this base costed me 4C. What I then did is slammed a max life essence onto it, and it's a 1x shield now because it has really nice resistances and a lot of life. Then I bought this opal ring base. I got really lucky on this one because I just bought the base for 4C. It was a pretty high item level of 80. I slammed the cold essence. Yes. No, yeah, this one. The cold damage to attacks, and I got increased percent cold damage, which was pretty good. What I then did is I got this Stygian Vice. The base costed me 5x. It's not that much for a Stygian Vice with this much amount of life. Actually, it has 120 life almost. And it could be more, but I really need the strength for this build because the replica business requires 138 strength, and we basically have no strength in our build, as you can see. So the build came out pretty nicely, I would say. I have about 54 million DPS, level 93. That's what the guy asked for. He's level 93 currently. We have positive chaos res because that's what he specifically asked for. Otherwise, if you're ignoring chaos resistance completely, I would unslot these and stay with negative 25. Negative 25 is because we have Adziri's Promise active. Without Adziri's Promise, it's basically nothing. But the guy specifically asked for chaos resistance, so we slotted this in at the cost of some damage. I'm currently at 3.5k life. I got this annoyed at because it gives a lot of life. Don't underestimate the life wheel, but unfortunately, since we're playing Flicker Strike and we have 3 large cluster jewels which give us a lot of damage, we kind of have to annoy this one. As you can see, if we unsocket just one, we'll lose about 15 million DPS. This is crucial to Flicker Strike. Then I also got a Watcher Eye. Basically, I got a flat crit chance under Hatred. This one costed, it has a nice roll, but it's like 7x, 7 to 8x. I paid 8x for this roll. Then I got this Anatomical Knowledge. Basically, the guy said, look, I want 3.5k life. I don't care, I'm playing Flicker Strike, I want 3.5k life. So I said, fuck it. So we're slotting it right here. And it also has the Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted to you. This thing costed me 2x, not much. And it's a max roll of max life, so pretty nice. These jewels, it's a double crit multi. No, wait, this one's pretty trash. This one's pretty trash because this one just for max life. But these, crit multi with one-handed melee, critical multiplier, and increased damage with swords. All of them have the same 3 mods. I paid about 1 to 2x for each one. Overall, if you're looking just for a double crit multi, it's it's almost nothing. It's like 10 to 20 C, but the increased damage with swords does adapt, and it's almost a flat percent because Paradoxica offers double damage, and that gives us a lot of extra damage. So if you don't care much about life, what I would do instead is, instead of anointing the Constitution, I would anoint this one, Tribal Fury. It still requires a golden oil and a silver oil, but the strike skills target one additional enemy is going to be pretty useful. Then about the flasks, Vessel of Victor, Bottle of Faith, Cinder Swallow for Onslaught. The Wise Oak I decided we do not really need because we opted with that Xerius Promise. The rest of the gear you pretty much already know. As for the jewels, we decided that we wanted to go with Divergent Flicker Strike because it's a really nice quality of life. The Divergent quality gives it increased teleport range, and this one costs, this is a price fixer, this one costs 8x. Then Awakened added cold damage. I basically had some currency left, and we said fuck it, let's do 620, why not? The 620 costed just 9x, it's not that much. Then Anomalous Ice Bite, the Anomalous quality gives it 2% increased damage per frenzy charge, which is not a lot, but it's weird that it's 2. It's a joke, but anyway. Then we had Awakened Elemental damage with attacks. For level 5, it's about 4.5x. Unfortunately, the level 6 ones, they're 13x and up, and we were running out of currency, so we decided to go with 520. Obviously, it's not corrupted, so if he feels lucky, he can corrupt it. I'm not doing it for him. Then we got the 2120 Multi-Strike. Obviously, it's not an Awakened Multi-Strike because an Awakened Multi-Strike is like 20x, and as I said previously, we were running out of budget. Then we have Ruthless support. Ruthless gives a nice boost to single target DPS. If you don't care much about single target, you could opt in for something like Melee Splash. You could also have Awakened Melee Splash, which is really nice. Then the hard part is coloring our replica Abysses, because an Abysses helm is a flat strength requirement and it takes a lot to color this. So what we did is we went on the crafting bench and you do 2 sockets, then you do at least 2 blue sockets, which is making the top 2 sockets blue, and then you craft on 3 sockets. If it hits a red or a green, you craft 2 sockets. And you keep on going until your 3rd socket is blue. Once your 3rd socket is blue, you do the same thing with the 4th socket. And in our Abysses, we have level 1 Vortex. Vortex is just there to proc Frostbite and Bone Chill. The Bone Chill is Divergent because it increases our effect of Chill, which gives about the quality gives about 1.5 mil DPS. And Frostbite is just 2120 because the alt quality does nothing on it, unfortunately. And then there's Hex Touch. I could quality it up, but the guy said don't bother with it because I was running out of Gem Colors Prisms, so he just said don't worry with it. In the glove spot, we have faster attacks, Leap Slam, Fortify, and Life Tap. Basically, I cannot use it, but with the sword you can, and I cannot use the sword because it requires Dex, and I'm currently on my Witch, unfortunately, but yeah. It's going to give you Fortify, you're going to be Leap Slamming around the map really frequently, and overall I think Leap Slam is one of the best movement skills. And it has the best MTX, so yeah. Then we have Enlighten support, it's just level 3 Enlighten. You don't really need a level 4 Enlighten unless you're running 21 Precision. But I was lucky enough to get the Herald of Ice has increased mana reservation efficiency, so the Herald of Ice reserves a lot less mana, which allows us for 21 Precision. As for the alt qualities for hours, I wouldn't bother with it because the Hatred gives pretty much nothing, but Herald of Ice gives increased cold damage, so that's nice, and Precision quality also doesn't really matter, but it's a nice thing. As for our gems in the weapon, it's custom and damage taken, steel skin, and blood rage. Yes, I know we have trigger level 1 blood rage when you kill an enemy, but this blood rage can obviously be scaled up to way higher levels. And in our shield we have our colleague strike with Ancestral Warchief and Ancestral Protector. These totems give us a little boost in GPS, like 2.5 million, nothing much. If you find that you die too much in maps and you don't enjoy it, I would instead replace this with Custom Death Portal. So yeah. Overall, this build costed us 198 exalts exactly. We barely fit into the budget, but this is the nice thing about building your own builds, is that you know precisely how much you have spent on them. In terms of improvement, obviously the more hatred you have on your Watcher Eye, the merrier. You can get nice corrupts on your Abysses or on your Ferrule Sphere. Obviously you can get a crazy synthesized ring that we saw at the beginning of the video for 300 to 400x. You can get +2 strike skills. And yeah, overall that's it. Also, I really like what I've done with this build because the Stygian Vice, the requirements are good enough with that. When you put in Vice Oak, you're still capped on fire res. Otherwise you just recraft one of your rings or your shield for extra fire resistance, and you will not have to bother with replacing Stygian Vice with Headhunter, because I think Flicker Strike is really pleasuring to play with the Headhunter. And if you've never tried it, I think this is a really good league to do so. So go ahead and do it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the build. We ended up with about 54 million DPS at level 93 and 3.5k life. Once you reach higher total, I would totally just unspec all the life nodes and go full YOLO. Fuck chaos resistance, you just go full GPS, completely full GPS. Where's the rest of the GPS nodes? Anyway, as you can see, we already like up to 18 million and we lost 1,000 life, but that's the beauty with Flicker Strike. You either choose life or insane crazy damage. So yeah, I mean, thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions or if you have any other build requests, please specify in the comments. I will read all the comments and reply to all of them. If you would like to see a path of building, I will link it in the description. And if you want to support me, you can watch me on Twitch, where I stream live how I do these builds. So yeah, thank you everybody, and peace out.